try to draw this better. I can't really draw very good. I tried to make it three-dimensional. Failed. You can't. If I try to draw it three-dimensional, it gets confusing. There's too many things. Maybe I'm crazy. Like, for some reason, I think this would make it a lot stronger. If there's some steel rod connected to a cam, so if this moves, it's gonna push down, which in turn is gonna have the opposite force on the other side. So, and then as this moves this way, let's see. This is where I get confused. Let's see, because it might have an adverse effect, a change down the line. I don't know. It might not work, but for two pillars, I think it would work. But when you start adding them, I don't know. But let's see. So let's make. This is where I said before. It's like It's like. It's too much thinking half the time. I was jotting this real quick because stuff like this sometimes is a fail, and it's not worth trying to make things perfect. Let's see, Alright, so let's see. Alright, let's say there's wind pushing this way. There's a force here. So this is going to go down, which in turn pushes up, which is going to keep this from pushing down, essentially. But let's see, since this is pushing this way, this is going to want to go up this way. So if you hit a wind here, this is where it might not. If you get a wind that blows this way, then you're going to end up with another force this way. So you're going to have two upward forces if the wind is hitting. So and all right, let's say the wind is pushing this way and this way. This is going to go down this one. But it still might be worth it. I don't know. That's where I used to be able to draw good. And then if there's another cam here, this is going to push down. I don't know. I think it would still make it a ton stronger for some reason, because I bet that most of the winds would balance out somehow. They would equalize somehow, like just through hope. Like just from sheer luck. It would be a lot stronger. The odds of the winds being in a bunch of different directions isn't that great, but like this bridge was like in these mountains, so there could be winds coming from different directions, and even if you could have a storm coming and the winds be changing directions, and stuff. Um, Now let's scratch this and just say all the winds going in the same direction. Um, this is gonna go down and it's gonna push this up. See, that's where it gets. If you might, I don't know how that is. You might have to like stagger sizes of cams because you can accumulate force. If it's all going in one direction, this can push down and this can push up, and then you're gonna like have double force up here. Kind of, but it's a weird thing. That's why this type of stuff, there's different ways to calculate things, and sometimes it's not perfect science. So where you can say something that seems physically legitimate but it's not. So if there's a force pushing here, pushes this would be scratch, and this would be down, and this would be push. They try to turn the cam. You would hope that the force would be pretty much neutralized right here. But just say that it's pushing. Well, if it's pushing up here, then this would be trying to push it back down, kind of. Or you might say that it would be putting a lot of force, like here or something. It's like a Christmas tree. So then you might have something fail here at the top, which might be the weak spot, which might tear the whole thing down. It just depends on how you look at it, because it's not perfect science. And then, so if all the winds are the same, this one's trying to move. It's trying to physically move. So this cam moves a little bit and puts a force in this direction. It's going to be trying to pull this up. But if the wind's hitting it here, it's going to double the force of this trying to go up. So it might end up like a chain reaction. But it's like one of those things where it's like a unit. It's like one whole piece. So it's easy to like look at things a certain way and say, and you can calculate things. You could even put math in stuff like this and say, the force is going to multiply. You're multiplying force as you go down. So the force, initial force might be plus some, maybe not quite doubled, but plus, and then, but that might not be practical when you're talking about massive structure, to where the wind force, sometimes math doesn't work. But all these architectures, they have to know the math, and they have to do things with math to calculate forces and things like that. But sometimes math doesn't work, where you just have to do like a model and test through models. That's why I see a lot of people build models, like actual small scale models, because sometimes math doesn't fit. There's all kinds of bridges for model railroad stuff. It's like you probably have to just test things to see, and you might still not be. I don't know, because it's like they try to build things on a budget. You know, obviously they don't want to spend more than they have to. So, where something really needs another pillar, they take their chances, you know. Something ends up costing too much, or who knows what. But it's like this doesn't look, it looks like it's missing something. I don't know. Stuff like that's fun. Let's see. It's fun just to test things like that. To say it's worth anything is another story. Because they didn't plan on putting another pillar. By the time they put another pillar, they might as well put a hole. I mean, they could have just put, I guess, something not so drastic, you know, like here or something. I don't know. But sometimes they need the space. Really, steel bridges are. If this was steel, because I think it's like all basically concrete and rebar. I don't think there's. It's not like a steel bridge. It's basically they would call it concrete. I think it's like just rebar and concrete. It's really old. Before like steel bridges. So steel might even be cheaper. But there might be some kind of application for that. Like that other bridge that had the boat crossing. I don't know. Stuff like that's fun. People get paid to mess with stuff like that. Just to see. If it does that, if it works. Because like on a bridge like this, you can only make something so strong. Where like this, if you make it stronger, it might be worse. You know, so it's one thing to, and doing something like that, it might not have to be half as strong. I don't know. It probably have to be about the same, but I don't know. But these things want to move. They're putting force on things. I doubt that this like just deteriorated or something, you know. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure that these uprights were over time compromising the strength of this thing just by moving, just by vibrating and just putting pressure. Man, it's crazy that the whole thing fell down. Unless the thing, I don't know. Like, they should have some kind of better video. Maybe the thing just, the pillar just collapsed. It's hard to tell. Unless someone ran into or something, I don't know. It said on one thing, a disaster waiting to happen. Tragedy waiting to happen. Well, most concrete bridges are disaster waiting to happen. Let's see, what is this? Fell. This is my cloud burst. Trying to see if they're not saying what part of it failed. You would think when I didn't read this one, but you would think like naming your story tragic way to happen, that you would say what broke. But sometimes they don't even, they name their art, but then they don't say what has been beset with problems. I don't like the way they worded that. Most times I find, like, following this, I guess, like, tens of thousands of bridges. There's over 10,000 bridges in Italy, are you sure? Tens of thousands of bridges and viaducts in Italy? Could be, there's over 10,000 bridges in Italy, really? Technology of pre-stressed reinforced concrete. Yeah, so that's talking about the architect. Poor calculations. It should have a lifespan of at least a century. Yeah. I don't know. Wonder what they're gonna do with it. Pre-stressed concrete. What? What the fuck does that mean? the probably just they like squeeze it, they smoosh it. Fuck. No fucking sound. Yeah, whatever. So, I have no idea. Wait. Still trying to figure this out. So if this is pushing on this, try and turn this, and it's going to push on this, then if the wind's hitting this, yeah, I think it might compound. But I don't know. It's so weird. Stuff like that, it takes thinking. Because you have to calculate wind. So, and forces, just forces. So say there's 10 miles an hour. Then, whatever, there's Newtons or whatever they call I don't know if they would say foot-pounds. Just a Newton. Yeah, this is what I remember. Or Newtons or whatever.
In the last video,
I hate when it does that.
101.
It's like one of those things where you almost have to build a model because it doesn't make any sense after a while. So you could say the force pushing down here. Now you're talking about like you're gonna have connections, to the bridge itself. So this is going to be connected to the bridge. So the cables are connected to the cam, not the bridge. So the force is really going to be put on the bridge here, not on the, it's going to make it where the force is on the bridge, not on the pillars, kind of. I don't know how that works because you could almost say that the force here would end up zero. There's more math and shit to it than I can think of because it gets stupid. So if you have this cam, this is pushing this way, which is pushing. I was going to try to turn the cam, basically. We're going to say that we're not getting to the wind over here or anything. Just say there's a gust that hits it. Now, how do you do that? See, the thing is, is it the force going to push on the bridge or not? Like, that's what I was saying just now, but I'm not sure if the cam should put any force on the bridge itself. I don't know. This doesn't might not apply. I don't know. It's weird. It's like magnetism. It does things that you wouldn't think it would do. See, something like this, though, would probably be cool to study because I don't know. There's not many moving parts. Like, there's springs and stuff inside. Some stuff. Then you have to worry about, like, earthquakes and stuff. So if it's too strong, like, then it's no good either. So it's like, if it's too strong, then and there's an earthquake, and I don't know. Just something like that, though, might make it out like where an earthquake won't even affect it. It's like the ground, the earth is cracked and ground is shaking, and the bridge is like, I'm one solid mass. I'm not moving. You're taking me with you. You know, something like that, where it's like, no. It's the same thing with, like, the steel bridges. Like, they're stronger now than concrete. This concrete, like in that article, they were like, oh, they thought, like, concrete was indestructible, basically. But it's like, no, these steel bridges, this, like, makes it, like, one whole piece. It's not coming apart. Like, it's not going to come apart. Something might happen elsewhere, but it's probably going to, I don't know, it has to be built right. Which isn't always the case. Some of them, you can just look at them and be like, no, this thing it's not going to break. It might bend, but it's not going to, like, crack and break. But I don't know what they get old too, and steel gets old, just like concrete. If it gets, especially if there's holes, tubing. If it's made out of, like, hollow things, it is not going to last. Like, this is like all I-beam. I don't know. It makes sense to me. That's where in this picture it doesn't look right, because You don't need as many pillars. You know what I mean? They can be further apart. So like that picture doesn't really do it justice, because it's really so that you don't need is you can put more space in between the pillars or whatever you call them. It makes sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know if there's math that you could do. You'll find something where it's multiplying forces or something, but I don't know sometimes. Like that's what there are things that just have to be modeled. There's like no real other way. And there are people who do so like that. You have one person do all this math and all these hypotheses, sees or whatever, and then another guy will just build a fake model and run a bunch of tests. And one guy will say it's not good enough, and one guy would say it is, and then I don't know. Because instead of I don't know, you would the odds of these two pushing down in the one spot would probably be almost eliminated, where it would never really push. The forces would be distributed instead of isolated, which if you